in this process, you will awaken your creativity, your passion for life again. You will get these divinely inspired ideas that lead to outcomes that you could have never disciplined your way towards. That is what is waiting for you when you choose this path over discipline. The only thing that you will ever achieve from a disciplined lifestyle is survival. Yes, you will survive, you will make it. And there might have been a time in your life where survival was the main focus. But many of us collectively right now are actively shifting out of survival mode into higher vibrations, into a new type of reality. And if you're watching this, it's because you're a pioneer of that new reality. You are one of the first ones to recognize that survival mode may have been necessary in the past, but we can ascend from that now. We can shift. We have the power to see that we don't need to be on this hamster wheel trying to achieve and cover up our wounds anymore. Hi, my loves. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Michaela. I'm a hypnotherapist and spiritual mentor, and I'm incredibly passionate about sharing the realizations that come to me on my own personal healing and awakening journey to hopefully give you some guidance, some confirmation, and to help you feel a little bit less alone on your own journey. So I know that what I'm about to share could either be confirmation for some of you listening to it, maybe you already know this information, or for some of you, you might have clicked on this video because you have been trying to live a really disciplined life. Maybe you have already achieved a good amount of discipline in your life with your routines, and maybe the title of this video kind of triggered you a little bit. Either way, I would just invite you to hear what I have to say with an open mind and know that every single message that I deliver is my own personal truth. It doesn't have to be true for you. If it resonates, take it. If it doesn't, leave it. That's okay. Everything that I share without judgment too. So if you have a way of life that is really working for you, I'm not judging you for choosing that. This is all based on my own personal experience with having lived a very disciplined life before, where I was very attached to my routines, with going to the gym, with eating the perfect diet, with being as productive as I possibly could. And as I've done a lot of healing work on myself, I've started to realize the dark energy that lies behind discipline. So in this video, not only am I going to break down why I don't personally align with being disciplined in my life, and also how to heal from that cycle of feeling chained to your discipline, chained to your routines, how to break free from that and still accomplish what you want to accomplish in this life. So I personally think that our world is very obsessed with this glamorized version of discipline that we see on social media. We are constantly exposed to people's perfect morning routines, to their perfect workout schedule, what they eat in a day, seeing people be very productive in hustle culture, work, no days off, to achieve this very glamorous and glorified lifestyle. But what we don't see is that behind the scenes, these people, many of them are really struggling because their sense of self-worth is completely dependent on their ability to be disciplined. They've sacrificed their freedom to achieve these goals that they've deemed as more important than their own freedom. But what I would encourage you to question, if you are on this path of really glamorizing discipline, or if you're just wanting to question it a little bit more right now, I would ask yourself, why? Why do I want the perfect body? Why do I want to eat so perfectly healthy all the time? Why do I want to meditate every single day? Why do I want to create this successful business? And you may think you know the answer to these questions on the surface, but if you dig a little bit deeper, there are actually more reasons behind why you want these things than you think. To me, I see it as there being two spaces within us that are our driving force behind the action that we take. One space within us is our ego. Our ego wants these things to receive validation, to feel accomplished, to feel successful. Our ego is all about survival. So it leads us to do things to help us feel like we're safe and provided for, to help us fit in and receive connection, because connection is a huge part of our basic human needs. So we'll really do whatever we can to receive validation and connection and a sense of belonging, to feel like we're fitting in the world, and to feel like we're meeting the standards that we need to meet to be loved. That's often the driving force behind our ego attaching to these desires. And our ego decided that if we can just have the perfect routine, if we can just get that perfect body, if we can just have that successful business, we can get these desires that will ultimately help us to survive and feel more satisfied. However, the ego does not know truly how to feel satisfied. All the ego knows how to do is protect you and keep you in survival mode. All the ego knows how to do is show you who you think you should be in order to finally receive that outer validation from the world. So when the ego is our driving force behind discipline, it's actually coming from a space of fear. The other space that this drive for these goals might be coming from is our soul. Our soul is the part of us that is always guiding us towards the most fulfilling life for ourselves. So often we will feel confused when it comes to discipline, thinking that it's coming from our soul when discipline is actually coming from the ego. Because discipline is a fear-based way of operating that is rooted in survival. The definition of discipline is training people to obey rules or a code of behavior and using punishment to correct disobedience. I don't know about you, but that definition just screams fear and control to me. It screams conditioning, believing that we have to operate in this stressed out form of survival mode in order to achieve fulfillment in this life. But I am here to let you know that there is another way to live. And if you clicked on this video and you felt called to this message, it's likely because your soul is calling you to do this work on yourself so that you can find freedom from the trap of being disciplined. So why is the ego so obsessed with being disciplined? It's because the ego discovered discipline as a way of masking the pain that you felt when you experienced trauma in your life. And that trauma could be a number of things, but basically any moment where you felt like you weren't enough, where you felt unsafe, unloved, unworthy, where you felt judged or shamed or rejected by the people around you, your ego in that moment did what it does best. It showed you how you could best survive that situation. And often the only way that we can find control in a situation like that is by blaming ourselves. Even though the initial traumas that you experienced were actually a projection of someone else's pain onto you, and it actually had nothing to do with you doing anything wrong, with you not being enough. It was a projection. As a child, we don't have the consciousness, we don't have the awareness, we often don't have the people around us to tell us that, to help us realize that we're not broken, there's nothing wrong with us, we don't need to be fixed, we're not a constant self-improvement project. We don't have that awareness as a child. So in order to survive, the ego takes over and becomes obsessed with overanalyzing everything that's wrong with us and everything that we need to become in order to receive the love and the connection that we lost in those moments. What we don't realize is that in that process, we reject and abandon ourselves by blaming ourselves for something that wasn't truly our fault. And we become obsessed with achieving these external things in order to finally feel whole again, in order to finally feel loved. But this is what leads us to go on this never-ending hamster wheel of discipline, trying to become perfect, trying to reach all of these goals and shift all of these areas of our lives. We go on this hamster wheel thinking that when we finally achieve those things that we're going to be satisfied, that we can finally feel peace that was taken from us when we abandoned ourselves in that moment. And we don't realize that we're actually just putting a Band-Aid over the wound and not actually resolving it internally. And so when we do that, we feel this sense of being incomplete, and we become attached to these forms of discipline, whether it's working tirelessly, immersing yourself in hustle culture so that you can be the most successful, getting those degrees, fixing your body, becoming obsessed with the gym or dieting, losing weight. Maybe it's becoming obsessed with changing everything about your personality and trying to find the perfect way of speaking and holding yourself and finding the perfect friend group, looking like you have the perfect life on social media. There are all of these things that we try to use as a Band-Aid to the true wound that we experienced, because the ego is a professional at helping us to escape the pain and survive it. It is not a professional at helping us to realize what we truly need at that deeper level. We think that being disciplined is being in our power. We think that being disciplined is finally gaining control over this life. But actually, it is a true form of weakness in many ways, because without our discipline, without our routines, we feel shaky, unstable. We don't have stability within ourselves. It is attached to our ability to perform perfectly. And that is not true power, because when we are reliant on these external things, these external routines to give us a positive sense of self, we actually are not in our power. We are reliant on something outside of us, and that thing can be taken away at any moment. Life happens. Maybe you get injured. Maybe you lose the job. Maybe the relationship ends. Something happens, and the very thing that you were attached to, giving you your sense of confidence and your sense of power and your sense of self-worth, is taken from you. And I'm not trying to induce fear by saying any of these things, but I'm trying to get you to see that the only space where we have true power is by being rooted in ourselves and connected to ourselves, and not needing to be disciplined in order to feel good. The other reason why it's really easy to convince yourself that discipline is the way to go is because it's literally how we are conditioned to operate in the world. From a very young age, we're in a school system where we're taught to seek that gold star, that good grade, that pat on the back from your teachers. We're taught to devote endless hours to subjects we may or may not even care about in order to get that approval and to feel like we're doing the right thing in the world. We are literally conditioned to be little worker bees who don't have a sense of self and gain all of our own well-being from that external validation. And on top of that, now we have social media glorifying discipline as well. So it's like everywhere we turn, we see that the only way to truly be successful in life is through this disciplined lifestyle. And I want you to really become aware right now that if you continue to tell yourself that the answer to all of your problems is in you becoming more disciplined and being perfect, that you are actively putting on a handcuff to this lifestyle. And this lifestyle will never, ever give you the feeling that you are seeking. Because the feeling that you are seeking is likely a feeling of peace, freedom, health, vitality, connection to yourself and others, feeling loved, feeling supported, feeling worthy, feeling joyful. Likely you believe that achieving all of those external things will finally give you that feeling. And I want you to know that that is an illusion. The only thing that you will ever achieve from a disciplined lifestyle is survival. Yes, you will survive, you will make it. And there might have been a time in your life where survival was the main focus. But many of us collectively right now are actively shifting out of survival mode into higher vibrations, into a new type of reality. And if you're watching this, it's because you're a pioneer of that new reality. You are one of the first ones to recognize that survival mode may have been necessary in the past, But we can ascend from that now. We can shift. We have the power to see that we don't need to be on this hamster wheel trying to achieve and cover up our wounds anymore. And I know maybe you're thinking, if I give up on my discipline, or if I give up trying to attain more discipline in my life, then I'm just going to be lazy and I'm never going to achieve anything. I'm going to lay on my couch all day watching Netflix, scrolling social media, eating potato chips, doing whatever. And I want you to know that the only reason you do that is because of the pain and suffering that is going on inside of you. All of those things that we do to try to create more pleasure or more dopamine in our lives, we do those things because we feel this emptiness inside of us. And when we slowly start to let go of discipline in our lives, it is likely that you might start to go towards some of those less structured habits, where you might start to go towards this lifestyle that feels also really unfulfilling because you're not doing anything that really takes care of your body, that nurtures you. But what's so important to understand is that when you let go of discipline and that shame and self-judgment comes up, maybe that self-sabotage comes up and you feel powerless in your life, that is the golden opportunity for you to stop trying to slap the band-aid of discipline on the pain that you feel, but actually start to sit with those feelings. And often we go towards social media scrolling or TV or eating or drugs or alcohol in those moments because the pain and discomfort we feel is a lot. And I want you to know that it's okay if that happens. It is part of the healing process. When you are over here on the pendulum in discipline and you're trying to use all of your willpower to stay over here, if you start to let go of your attachment to that and you start to open up to a new way of being, the pendulum might fully swing the other way. The pendulum might fully swing the other way, and you might enter into a very lazy energy. But what that is your body going into overwhelm from all of the unprocessed emotions that your discipline was helping you to mask and cover up. And so at that time, what you need most is not to shame yourself and judge yourself for being in that lazy, unproductive state. What you need to know is that your body actually just needs rest. It needs time, and it needs you to speak to yourself kindly. It needs the most healing medicine of all, which is unconditional love. Your pain and your attachment to being disciplined came from receiving conditional love around you, believing that you needed to meet these certain expectations in order to be safe, in order to be loved, in order to be connected. And so the antidote to that is giving yourself unconditional love when you are not meeting any of those standards, when you are not feeling disciplined, when you are not feeling like you're making progress towards your goals. Giving yourself unconditional love in that moment helps you to gain strength. It helps you to process the pain that you've kept inside. It helps you to create a deeper sense of connection with yourself. And it helps you to slowly but surely bring the pendulum back into balance in the middle, which is devotion. Choosing devotion over discipline is the new way of being that we are trying to anchor in. And in order to get to devotion, sometimes, yes, we need to go through that phase where we're not feeling disciplined at all. And in those moments, giving ourselves that unconditional love and care that we need. And I'm going to talk through exactly how to do that at the end of this video. But I want you to know you might go over there to feeling lazy and unproductive. And that pain, that shame, that judgment that comes up in that moment, it is pure gold. Because you're face to face with the very wounds that led you to feel like you had to sacrifice your freedom in order to fix yourself. And so you might go over here to not doing very much, resting a lot, watching TV, maybe having times where you do use substances or scroll on social media to numb out. When you give yourself love in that moment, it is so healing. And then maybe you'll have enough. It'll be too much for you and you'll go back over into discipline. And then you'll feel more dissatisfaction with that again. And you might go back and forth for a little bit, but eventually you will get to this space where you're just kind of swinging back and forth between the two, trying to anchor in this new way of being that can only be anchored in when we start to instill more self-love within ourselves, more care for ourselves. Devotion is the new discipline. Devotion is defined as profound dedication, loyalty, and love or care for someone or something, in this case, you. Devotion to yourself is what you truly want. It's what your soul truly wants. When you're finally able to see that all of those egoic desires were leading you down a path of unfulfillment where it's never enough, where even when you get the dream body, you're never actually satisfied because you feel like you have to work tirelessly to maintain it, or when you get that success in your business, you don't even feel safe because you never worked on creating safety within you, and you feel like you have to work tirelessly to maintain that. That is where the path of discipline is leading you. Exhaustion, never feeling free, never feeling present, always feeling like you're running on that hamster wheel towards your next goal and never reaching the destination of peace and fulfillment. Discipline stems from fear. Devotion stems from love. And devotion becomes a much more natural, much easier process the more that you practice loving yourself unconditionally when you are not meeting your standards, doing that deeper shadow work of addressing those core wounds that led you to stray from your connection to yourself. Having devotion towards yourself and your well-being creates so much freedom because in any given moment, your intuition can guide you towards what is best for you, and that is not defined by outer expectations or basing your self-worth on what you choose. It is defined by where you feel called in each moment. It is seeing actions as neutral rather than good or bad and defining them as good or bad for you based on how you feel. So for example, let's say you are at a party and you want to have a piece of cake. Coming from a place of devotion, you would purely check in with yourself. How much of this cake do I want? As you eat the cake, you would notice, is this satisfying me? Am I experiencing pleasure? If you are experiencing pleasure, you would fully immerse yourself in the pleasure and joy of eating that cake, and you would fully honor yourself and be present with the experience. And because of that, whatever part of you was really wanting that cake got the satisfaction of the experience of eating that cake. If you are coming from a place of discipline, you're up in your mind and you're at a party and you go to eat a piece of cake. Your mind might say you can only have one bite. You already went over your macros for today. You need to stay disciplined. You need to stay on track. And as you eat one bite, you might feel this part of you that really wanted the cake saying, oh my God, this is so good. I want more, I want more, I want more. And you might start to feel a little bit out of control. Because we only have so much willpower and discipline to exert, eventually the part of us that craves, needs, and deserves pleasure will take over. And these parts will go to war with each other. So as you eat the cake, you might have a voice in your head saying, I shouldn't be eating this, but then a part of you really wants it. And so at the end of that experience, you didn't actually fully get the pleasure you were seeking because the disciplinarian in your head was judging you and shaming you the entire time, and you didn't actually get to live out the experience. And so what that creates is this deep level of dissatisfaction in your life and not feeling free. It also creates a feeling of being completely out of control. And when you try to cover up that feeling with more discipline, it just honestly feels like you're at war with yourself. So devotion is allowing yourself in each moment to experience what it is that truly feels right for you. Now, let's say when you're living in that devoted lifestyle, you eat the piece of cake and it's pleasurable in the moment, but afterwards you notice that you have a headache or you have a stomach ache and you don't feel very good. When you're in that space of self-love, you would make note that typically eating cake doesn't make you feel very good. It comes with this feeling afterwards of being sluggish or having that difficult digestive experience. And because you are coming from a place of love and not judgment, and you allowed yourself to fully have that experience, you likely probably won't eat cake for a very long time simply because you care for yourself. And that is a choice you are making out of your own freedom. You won't judge yourself if you eat the cake, and you won't judge yourself if you don't eat the cake. It's just neutral. And that's what we really want in this human experience, is neutrality and the ability to make choices because it aligns with self-love. It aligns with us feeling our best. And the reason that we have such a hard time believing that that's possible is because most of us don't have that deep, loving connection with ourselves. We are too much in our heads trying to control and force and manipulate that sometimes we can't even fathom a life where love leads the way, where we actually care about our bodies so much and feel free in every moment to choose what is right for ourselves, and that we just end up living a healthier life because of it, a healthier and more balanced life. The way that I see it is, from my own personal experience, I spent some time in Europe. And the whole time I was so anxious about gaining weight. I ended up gaining weight and I was being so hard on myself that I don't even feel like I actually got to have the full experience of traveling. I feel dissatisfied with that experience because the disciplinarian in my head was taking the joy away from it. And when I look back on my life, I realized that I don't want to have every single experience that I have in my life clouded with this disciplinarian in my head judging me and shaming me for wanting to experience freedom. And the beautiful part is that having devotion to yourself does create more health and more well-being. The more you love yourself, the more you feel magnetized towards the rituals, the hobbies, the experiences that truly light you up and truly make you feel amazing. I gave up on my gym routine a couple of years ago because I realized it was like a handcuff that I had to it. Like I couldn't feel good without it. And I realized there was truth in that. My body craves movement. But it took me a really long time swinging back and forth on the pendulum of discipline and laziness to realize that there was a form of movement that my body was craving that truly felt so good, that came from deep love and reverence and respect for myself, wanting to feel good, feeling deserving of feeling good, and never using movement as a form of punishment or trying to change and manipulate my body in order to satisfy my ego. And so it can free us up in so many areas of life, and it helps us to fully live in this human experience and experience what our soul wants to get out of it. We also, in this process of choosing devotion, align more fully with the life that we're meant to live. When we are operating from a space of self-love, we actively are able to get out of our heads and take our ego out of the driver's seat and start to honor what we truly want to create and what we're truly passionate about in this world. Sometimes we can't even feel that excitement for anything because we are in this wounded space. So doing this work on healing that shame, that abandonment, that rejection, that conditional love that we received in our lives, when we heal that, we are able to anchor more fully into what we truly want. And from that space, we end up creating a lot more magic in our lives. And I want to be clear that devotion doesn't mean that we won't have to put effort in. Devotion doesn't mean that we won't have to face challenges, but the energy behind our choice, and I want to emphasize the word choice, to make that effort, to move through those challenges, to put in that work, is aligned with love for ourselves, with love for the project that we're trying to complete, with love for the process of knowing that we're able to accomplish these challenges and feeling strong. It's aligned with love rather than fear that if we won't do it, that we'll never be successful, we'll never prove ourselves to the world, we'll never make the money, we'll never get the body, we'll never get the love. If it comes from that fear, it is actively going to hold us back in what we're able to manifest and achieve in that process. And so I just want to make that very clear, that devotion often does come with having to push yourself a little bit, having to kind of be this loving parent towards yourself that says, yes, we're going to put the effort in on this because we love it, because we love what we're creating, because we love what we're moving towards and what we're manifesting. And it doesn't have to come with suffering. It doesn't have to come with the sacrifice of your freedom or your well-being. So just remember that devotion is the answer in all of this, and it may take time to be able to operate from that space because there are not very many people embodying this in the world. Most people that we see who have achieved some form of physical success or tangible outcomes, a lot of them have gotten there from this old disciplinarian, productivity-based way of operating. This is what we're actively trying to unlearn so that we not only can manifest success and well-being and health and freedom, but we can do it in a way that feels purposeful and passionate and joyful. And that is possible. It is possible for us to achieve that. But first, we do have to focus on this healing in order to allow ourselves to align with that energy of devotion. And I'm sure if you're still listening, it's likely because you're on board with this. You're ready to choose this life of devotion. And I want you to know that just by listening, just by being here, you're already taking the first step by becoming aware of the illusion that discipline is going to get you anywhere in your life. I want you to honor the fact that it did help you to survive. It is helping you to maybe feel safe and avoid having to feel that pain within you. It's not anything to judge yourself for if you go back and forth during this process of healing. But keep your eye set on devotion. Keep your eye set on freedom and continue to believe that it is possible. And don't believe anybody who tells you that you have to suffer in your life in order to create something, that you have to give up your freedom and your joy and your passion in order to survive. We are actively ascending away from that consciousness, from that way of being, and we're opening our minds to understand we are creator beings. We are the creators of this reality. And if we choose to call in a life of devotion rather than discipline, we will be guided on that path towards creating that for ourselves. And yes, at first, it might feel absolutely horrible. It might force you to face your internal shame and judgment towards yourself, that feeling of not being loved. But that is where your greatest power lies, is your ability to hold space for yourself as that comes up and know that you're not doing anything wrong if you feel worse. That is your path to freedom, is through that feeling. And because I always want to leave you with tangible steps, rituals, and tools, I want to just offer you a 6-step process to creating this life of devotion over discipline. So the first step in this process is observation. Observation of the timeline that discipline is leading you on. Understanding that the idea that your mind creates that you're going to be satisfied if you can just stick to your routine, stay disciplined, and achieve these goals, that is an illusion. And sometimes you actually have to get to the point where you achieve one of those goals to realize that you're still unfulfilled and unsatisfied. But if you've already kind of begun this process and you're listening to this video still, it's probably because you are aware that achieving those goals, staying disciplined, it's never, ever going to lead you to the feelings that your soul truly wants to experience. So the first step is the acknowledgement of that. If I'm chained to these routines and this discipline for the rest of my life, and it's the only way that I can feel good about myself, is it worth it to keep going? Or do I want something more for myself? That is the first space. And if you're watching this video, it's because you're already there, you're already acknowledging it, you're already becoming the observer of your reality rather than just being on that hamster wheel mindlessly chasing. You're observing now. Step 2 is all about creating safety and connection with yourself. Because in order for us to start healing, we need to feel safe. We need to start to be able to slowly let go of discipline and allow some feelings of shame or judgment or whatever the wound is to come up. And in order for that to happen and to have it be a healing and corrective experience, we need to work on feeling safe within ourselves. So the way that I always recommend to do this is to ask to be given unconditionally loving support. Maybe this will show up in the form of a therapist, a mentor, a friend who you can open up to. Maybe you'll feel inspired to call a family member, or maybe you'll go into meditation and call on the unconditional divine support system that is wanting to come in and support you. It could show up in the form of God, an angel, feeling just the energy of the universe holding you, loving you, supporting you. Maybe it's a past loved one. Maybe it's a pet or a passed on pet. Call on the energy of unconditional love to come into your body and ask for support with creating safety. When it's a physical person, like a therapist or a mentor, often they're able to help you create that safety to venture into these heavier, more painful spaces within ourselves. When it's the form of unseen support, often it will feel a little bit less tangible, but just trust that it's there, it's showing up for you, and you are always so unconditionally loved and supported. The third step in this process is to gently pull back from your disciplined routines and start to feel the discomfort that comes with that. If you've already kind of started to do that, maybe you completely let go of discipline and invite in complete freedom in your life. If you're new to this process, maybe you stop going to the gym 5 times a week and you start to go 2 or 3 times a week. Maybe you start to invite in more freedom in your daily schedule in small bits and pieces. Go at your own pace. But as you gently start to pull away from this mind-dominated, ego-dominated way of living, you will likely start to experience discomfort. And I would encourage you in that moment to try to sit with that discomfort and be with yourself for as long as you can. Maybe it will start out as 5 minutes of feeling shame and judgment towards yourself and feeling like you're not doing enough and that you're never going to make progress in your life. And you sit and you hold yourself and you say, I know, sweetheart. I know you're afraid. I'm here. I'm here with you and you're safe to feel this. Maybe it will start out as 3 to 5 minutes of tolerating that, and then you'll go on your phone or read a book or watch TV, or you'll go back to your disciplined routines. Slowly start to increase your window of tolerance for that discomfort and start to allow those feelings to move through you. Eventually, you will start to be able to tolerate more and more of it and allow that energy to move through you. You can also even ask to be shown, where did this wound originate from? Where is this shame originating from? And you might even see a past version of yourself at 5 years old when, your mom withdrew her love from you when you didn't get the good grade or whatever happened. It could be any memory that comes up. Maybe you will hear clairaudiently an age that you were at when you first experienced this wound. It's not necessary for you to know exactly when it originated, but if it is important, it will come up in some way. So just know that. This stage of the process is all about honoring how you feel and letting it move through you instead of trying to suppress and avoid. Often the shame will come up when we're trying to cope and when we're indulging in food or TV or things that are seen as less productive in your eyes and the eyes of society. A lot of that shame and judgment will come up then. I invite you to wrap yourself in a hug and say, I deserve pleasure. I deserve freedom. It's okay that I need this right now. I'm going to keep allowing myself to take breaks and just be in stillness and silence with myself and allow these emotions to move through me. I'm going to keep creating safety and I'm going to keep practicing. And just let that pendulum keep swinging until you slowly start to get into balance. The next step is just anchoring in that practice of unconditional love, creating safety for yourself by affirming that what you're doing is right. You don't have to go back to your old way of being. You are safe to be here. The one thing that I would recommend being so devoted to in the beginning is positive and loving self-talk as you go through this process. Something that really helped me was looking at myself in the mirror every morning and every night and saying, I love you. I love you. I love you, and continuously devoting myself to those practices. The next step, as you feel like you've started to create a little more love and compassion and safety within yourself, is to begin asking yourself when you're taking action, when you're doing certain things, does this feel like freedom? Is this fully coming from love towards myself, or is there a part of me that's wanting to fix or change myself, or is coming from fear? And when you can observe you're coming from fear, ask yourself, do I feel safe to pivot in this moment? Can I choose devotion? What would freedom feel like to me? A tangible example of this when I was trying to heal my relationship with exercise was that I would feel like I want to move. My body needs movement. I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling stagnant. I want to devote to myself this time of movement. So I would go and I would turn on maybe a workout video or try to get myself to the gym. And I could feel a part of me come in that really wanted me to like fix and alter and change my body. And I could feel this part of me that was feeling heavy because of it. It was coming from fear. It was coming from needing to fix myself, from wanting to meet this external standard. And I actively chose to shift in those moments to devotion. How can I do what feels good in my body while still moving, while still honoring that need that I have? And I would start to just let my body move on my yoga mat instead of following like a rigorous exercise program. And that's just what worked for me in terms of devotion. I honestly can say though, right now, I'm obsessed with movement and I genuinely just like want to do it the same way that I want to drink my coffee in the morning, or the same way that I, want to have a cookie. Like it literally feels like pleasure to me. So I've now actively learned how to be devoted to movement through pleasure and through feeling good in my body. And that is what's waiting on the other side of all of this work, is freedom and actually wanting to do the thing that's healthy for you instead of feeling like you have to. It is so much better this way. It is so much better. It feels so much more right in my soul. My soul is so happy that I'm doing this. The final step is just to have patience with yourself in this process and understand that I'm here teaching this to you and I still swing back and forth on the pendulum. We are pioneers. I know I've said that a few times, but it's true. We are the first people anchoring this new way of being into our bodies, into our souls, and allowing ourselves to experience this. And you should be so proud of yourself for being willing to open your mind and question these things and be devoted to yourself, because you deserve it. You deserve to live a life where each day you feel free to take action from a space of love rather than fear. And when I tell you that in this process, you will awaken your creativity, your passion for life again. You will get these divinely inspired ideas that lead to outcomes that you could have never disciplined your way towards. That is what is waiting for you when you choose this path over discipline. A life that starts to feel more magical. Because when you move from love, you're moving from your heart, you're taking action from your heart, and your heart is the most powerful space to manifest from. When you are experiencing gratitude and connection and joy in your life that comes from feeling free and from loving yourself and feeling connected to yourself, you literally become unstoppable, and you don't have to work nearly as hard to manifest health and abundance and joy and fulfillment and love in your life, because it started within you. As you created that safety and stability and love within you, it is going to be mirrored outside of you. And this is what I am calling in for you, for me, for the world, to start to understand how powerful we truly are when we learn to address the wounds that are driving us down the wrong path and bring ourselves back into alignment before we take action. This is how we become creator beings and truly gain that power that we were looking for by trying to exert our willpower and be more disciplined. We gain that power within ourselves, and then our whole reality changes. And this is the path that we're on. And I'm genuinely so excited and honored to be on this path with you. I just want to thank you so much for being here with me on this journey. You are honestly, those of you watching who are here on my channel, you guys are my soul family, and I'm so honored to be connecting with you at this time. If you received value from this video and you want to go a little bit deeper with me, I have a whole online shop of guided meditations and pre-recorded hypnotherapy sessions that can help you to do some of this deeper healing work that I described. You can absolutely do it on your own by going into meditation and asking to be shown. But if you were wanting a guide in that process, I highly recommend checking out my online shop. It's a great way to support me, my small business, and my channel, and to help me to continue to make videos like this. If you would like to support me in another way, just give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who you think would really benefit from the message. Either way, no matter how you choose to support, I'm so grateful that you're here on my channel watching, and I will see you in the next video.